Today we are going to bone and roll the whole pig. We're going to start here with the shoulder of pork. We're going to do the best end of pork. We're going to do the porchetta of pork with the belly. We're going to do the leg of pork, and we're going to do the shank of pork. But first of all, we're going to get this pig in the fridge and split it down. Right, so firstly we're going to take off the tail, like that, like so. And then we cut through here, so we loosen all the way around here. And then put the knee in the back and just twist, and it should come off like so. Head comes off. Great, and now we just split down the middle here with our knife. Mark it out, as I call it, there. Get the saw, and I'm just marking down the middle of the bone. So I'm going to go down here to give myself a good head start. Get past the loin, there. Perfect. Use the knife again, and then just mark it out through the kidneys. And then I'm going to split this down with the chopper. I'm just going to use the 2 inches of the chopper there, which is the most powerful part. Soft hand, head still. And just let the chopper do the work for you. There we go. And we get towards the end, and then I just finish the last bit off with a saw. Go back on myself here and just saw through the neck and the shoulder there. All the way through. And then we get our knife and just cut the pig. So now we split that into 2 pieces. Look at that, beautiful. Look at that, I've hit the middle again. Here we go. Side of pork, lovely. Great, so first of all, I'm going to cut the side of pork into primals, meaning basically smaller pieces than this large whole piece. And then I can bone and roll each of those individually. So first of all, we take off the leg, which is here, leg of pork. That comes off, look at that, beautiful. Then we're going to take off the rump of pork, or the chump end, as it's known in the trade. Look at that, lovely. Now I'm going to take off the loin with a bit of belly to make our porchetta, which is the belly and the loin rolled together. So on this occasion, I'm going to do 6 bones. You can do more, you can do less, but I'm going to do 6. Run the saw through there, and straight down. And we've got the lovely belly there with the loin together. Beautiful, and that's the fillet of pork, the undercut there as we call it in the trade. So this was beef, this would be the sirloin, this would be the fillet of beef, and collectively it'd be like a T-bone steak. Great, so now we're going to take off the neck end from the shoulder. Collectively this is the whole shoulder. Take off the neck end, we're going to run down here, nice parallel line again. I've got it square to the block, as you can see. We're going to run down here, mark it out, give us a nice pork chop at this end, and then we run down the saw down the line I've made. Put your hand underneath. You're never going to cut yourself doing this because you've got that wonderful protection underneath of all of this wonderful rind. Straight down. And we run the saw through again. Beautiful, look at that, and that's the loin of pork. Lovely. Great, so next we're going to take off the neck end of pork, which is the part of the shoulder, and the best end of pork. So I count 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I go to the 7th and down to 6. As I say, other butchers might do 5. I like to do 6. It was the way I was taught from a very young age by my father. Look at that, beautiful. For me, that's the best cut on the animal. The shoulder of pork with that natural fat, slowly cooked. There's nothing like it, and you get the best crackling off the shoulder. Absolutely delicious. Last but not least, we're going to take off the belly here from the hand. This is the hand of pork, and this is the belly of pork. So we literally go straight down like that. Look at that for a belly of pork. Absolutely delicious. Now we have all our primal cuts from the hand to the neck end, to the best end, to the belly, to the loin and the belly, to the rump, but we're going to start with the leg of pork. Great, so now I'm going to take the hock off from the leg. If you look down here, again, we've got sort of here and here, and roughly it's about there, that's lucky. And then you hit the joint there, you can see. And then straight down here, and then we have our wonderful hock of pork. So now I'll just take it over, get it nice and parallel with the block again, and just score down here evenly all the way through. So this will make our wonderful crackling. So we're going to score, take our time. I'm using a standing knife for this, if you notice, only because I want to protect my own knife and keep that sharp. So using this, I'm not going to blunt my own knife, and these are really quite sharp, which is a really good, useful thing to have. Can you see I'm trying to join the lines up and get this evenly scored, but I'm scoring through. Can you see I've scored through without going into the meat? So that's quite, you don't want to score too deeply, deeply enough to get through the crackling, but not into the meat. So it's a fine line, really. There we go. And this bit here, just hold it taut and you can get that scored as well. Can you see I'm holding it with my arm, really, here. And just get some nice score marks. Perfect. And then when we cook that, we can rub some lovely sea salt in there and we'll get a wonderful, beautiful roast. Great, so now we're going to whip the bones out. We're going to start with the H-bone here, or the hip bone. That comes out as a ball and socket joint here, if you can see. There. Just keep it tight to the bone. And we can keep all these bones and make a nice stock and turn it into a nice pork gravy at a later date. This comes out, this is flare fat. That's not a very nice thing to eat. It's internal fat, which protects the organs. And I'll show you later on the loin a bit more of that. Just any nasty bits come out as well. And then we've just got the main bone. I'm going to tunnel bone this. You can cut across here, but when you're boning and rolling things, it's much better to tunnel bone. And then, especially if you're stuffing, then the stuffing will stay in. So we go around the bone here, like so, and then go at the other end of the bone. Can you see where it gets its name from? Tunnel boning. So the tunnel is you're going through the meat without making a mark on the outside of the meat. A bit like taking your tunnel or your car through a tunnel. Look at that, beautiful. Keep that there. And then in here, there's a wedge of fat that I like to take out. You get in all legs, whether it's lamb, beef, or in this case, pork. See, that comes out as well. Just, not, there you go, a little bit more. Use the point of the knife for this. Lovely. Just anything you wouldn't like to eat yourself. As Dad used to say, do it like you're doing it for your girlfriend's mum. Beautiful. And then we'll get some of our wonderful skewers. You can't get hold of these anymore. These are, they've got a point on the end, believe it or not. And now we're not allowed points on the end of skewers. Health and safety. Gone mad. There we go. And we sort of just make that into cylindrical shape for rolling. We get our string and then start with the sort of widest bit, which is probably on the thigh end of the pork here, and just do some strings around there, not too tight initially because we want to hold that shape. If I go really, really tight, then it will pop out. There we go. Get 3-1 strings in to get it cylindrical, like so. And then once you've got it marked out, you can go a bit tighter. And I'd like to hang this really for a day before we cut into it because it just helps it set. So this is something for the weekend, we'd always prepare this on a Thursday really, for Friday, Saturday. So when we cut through it all holds together. go. Work your way down. Like so. And then one more on the thigh, the top end. And there we have a boned and rolled leg of pork with some beautiful crackling. Look at that, beautiful. So now we're going to take the trotter away from the hock. And to do this, we go down here, back on yourself there, run the knife round here. Can you see? And then if I use the block, the edge of the block, and we can just crack it there to get the joint. Like that. That comes off. And this I'll keep. This makes the most wonderful thing to put in a stock. Makes it really thick and gelatinous. So that is definitely a keep with our bones. And then I wouldn't normally do this, but I'm going to score this and bone and roll it. Here we have our Stanley knife again, and we're going to score it up. And I suppose this would be a nice little joint for sort of two people. A slower cook, because it's from the tougher part of the animal, essentially it would be like the shin, if you had beef, shin of beef. So I'd cook this low and slow, but I would have thought, having never done it, I would have thought it would be absolutely delicious. There we go. So we'll just run down the bone there. And again, we're going to keep this bone for our stock pot. And the Filipinos really like this part of the animal, and they do a lot of cooking with it. So I sell a lot to the Filipino community. So they've obviously found a secret there somewhere. Here we go, that bone comes out, that'll go in the stock pot. And there we have the boneless shank. A couple of strings around there, like so. One on the top. And just try and get that square. And I'll probably put a little, what I call a postman's knot round this way, just to hold it all together that way. There you have it. Beautiful. Look at that. So next we're going to bone out the rump of pork, or the chump end as we call it in the trade. Firstly, we'll take out all the flare fat from underneath. This is like a harder fat that doesn't taste very nice. Doesn't really break down like a normal back fat. And then we'll clear this out, cut it off there. Can you see? There we go. And then we'll take the fillet of pork out here. Like so, just loosen that off. And while it's still on the bone, I'm going to score the back. It's so much easier scoring when it's on the bone. Take it over the block, get a good hold of it. Can you see I'm trying to get it over the edge of the block, so as I go down with it, I'm not blunting the blade on the block. There you go. Beautiful. Nice bit of scoring. And then we'll take this bone out here. There we go, beautiful, that one comes out. And now any little bits that are left in, take those nasty bits out again. And we're going to pop that fillet back in and tie it all up. Like so, get the string. Start at the wider part, at the top there. And this will be delicious. This is like rump steak, effectively in beef. So it's not going to be a slow cook like the shank or the hock of pork. I would say about an hour and 20 minutes, something like that, with a bit of sea salt rubbed in. Look at that, beautiful. Perfect little joint for two. Next, we're going to bone and roll the loin and the belly together to make our porchetta. So we're going to take out this flare fat in the internal side of it. So down here past the pork tenderloin, which runs down here. I'm taking out the kidney as well. And should, when you get into it, you should just be able to peel it off at the end. There we go, that comes out. Any more bits like that will come out. I don't need it so long because I'm going to roll it right round here. So I'm just going to take the end off and we'll keep that and trim that up later on. And there we go, so it's all ready to go. And I'm just going to score the back again. Some parallel lines. And this is an Italian dish which has some wonderful stuffing in, which we'll put in. I'm, on this occasion, going to stuff it with our Italian sausage meat, which has fennel seeds, chili flakes, garlic, salt and pepper, and some pork and beef mince mixed together, which is here. And then we'll take out the tenderloin of pork along here, and then we turn it back over and bone out the ribs. Come down here a minute, let's expose it all. Down here we go. Take out this bone, this T-bone as it would be in the beef. Nice through there like that, there you go, look. That's the T-bone there, there and there, where it gets its name from. Great, so now we're going to make a pocket under the loin and the belly here, not right to the end, so we're going to come about an inch in either side so the meat doesn't spill out when we tie it together. So we're just coming down here, can you see? Underneath the loin, so we're not cutting through the eye of the loin, and making a nice little pocket for our stuffing to go in. It goes in there, beautiful, smells delicious. And then we're going to roll that up with the belly and just square it off again. There we go, and we'll keep that and bone that out later. We can also add back in the fillet of pork. This is so tender. Look at that, beautiful. So we'll add that back in and tightly roll it up, and then bring it to the edge of the block for tying. Again, thickest part of the meat to start with. I'm going to go in the middle, like so. And now you can see there's no meat spewing out the edges. We've made a little pocket. And this is the most wonderful thing to have, because you've got the belly, the loin, and the fillet, and all the wonderful stuffing. And I'd start that in the oven high at say 180, 190 for half an hour, with some lovely sea salt rubbed in. You can serve this with some fennel, and then drop it down after about 30-40 minutes, and then cook that low and slow at about 140 for about 2.5 hours. Look at that, isn't that beautiful? Almost there. We've still got the belly to do, the neck end of pork, the hand of pork, but now we're going to do the best end of pork. Firstly, we're going to score the rind again on the edge of the block, get even score marks again. There we go. And I like to do the middle bit first so we do it properly. Break it down in 3 sections. There, and then the end. And this will make beautiful crackling. You can't get crackling like this on supermarket pork. I'm really sorry about it. You just can't do it. Look at that, it's so dry. This is free range, outdoor reared, completely different from the pale stuff you get in the supermarket. Right, so here we go. Let's run it off the bone here. Straight down there. Again, we'll keep all these bones for our stock pot, make our pork gravy. That comes out there. Look at that, beautiful. And they are lovely baby back ribs, so we'll keep those as well. I'll cut through here and make up some nice slowly cooked baby back ribs there. That's the loin. This one we're just going to tie up and roll, and it doesn't take too long to cook this. As you can see, it's a lot narrower, but it's beautiful because you get the amazing crackling, and you're getting essentially the equivalent of sirloin of beef in pork. You're getting the loin in the pork, which is delicious. Nice tight. Try and make it cylindrical so it all cooks evenly. And again, a hot oven initially to get the thing going with some sea salt, and then you could cook this actually all the way, because it's so tender, all the way at 180 for about an hour and a half, and let it rest. Resting any meat is so important, so let this rest for a good half an hour before you serve it with your roast potatoes. Cauliflower cheese is a must, some leeks and peas, and the lovely gravy you're going to make from the bones, hopefully. There we go. Bone and rolled best end or loin of pork. Beautiful. Okay, so next I'm going to bone and roll the belly of pork. This is where our meaty ribs have come from. There's a seam down here when we make our meaty pork ribs. I take it out the belly, and you get about that much meat on the ribs, which makes a wonderful meaty rib for the barbecue. But on this occasion, we're going to bone and roll this. So first of all, we're going to score the back of the belly. Again, we're scoring it nice and finely. There you go, and I break it down again in 3 parts. It's just easier that way to get the nice score you want. Can you see I've gone through the skin there without getting into the meat? Look at that, beautiful. Whip it back over, we'll just whip this flare fat out. Look at that, beautiful. That comes out, the flare fat. Can you see that's the internal fat that doesn't really render down, and you just don't want it. Sometimes it gets, well, that would, you know, dare I say it, in the supermarket, sausages, the whole thing would go in. So you would get, in a cheaper sausage, you'd get a lot of nasty bits. So try and avoid that if you can. And I'm going to take out the bones now before we roll this. Straight down, hold it taut, and it's just so much easier. It's like cutting a piece of string. If you hold the string taut, it's a lot easier to cut it. And just go down there, keep it tight to the bone. I'm using the tip of the knife mainly, the first sort of inch or so of the knife for this job. There we go. That comes out. Look at that, beautiful. There we go, just make sure, give it a good feel, make sure it's all boneless, which it is. And there, a little bit there, let's get that out. And then you could stuff this if you wanted to, but on this occasion I'm just going to roll it like that. Start in the middle to get it held together. And again, off we go with our strings. I think we have got a video somewhere of just tying this knot if you want to learn how to do the butcher's knot in slow motion. There is a video on YouTube, on our shorts, I believe. And this is quite narrow, but I want to cook this slowly anyway. I mean, I'd be cooking this on a bed of celery, carrot and onion. And again, sea salt rubbed into the crackling. A little bit of oil I rub in, just so the sea salt sticks to the crackling. And then again, whack it up high to get it going for half an hour at 180, 190. And then drop it down to 140, fan-assisted oven. And then cook slowly for 3 hours, low and slow, and it'll be just delicious. Here we go, another knot. And this is a boned and rolled belly of pork. Just easy to carve. You see how narrow it is, so it's going to be really easy. Let it rest again for a good half an hour, 40 minutes. Look at that, beautiful bone and rolled belly of pork. Here we go, this is the neck end of pork. This is my favourite cut on the whole animal, to be honest, because you get that natural fat in there and a bit of lean, and that's what keeps it really nice and moist while it's cooking, and the flavour is just superb. But this part of the animal, for my money, is where you get the best crackling. Look at that. You can see how dark the skin is. Look at that. Non-free range pork would be a lot lighter than that and a lot wetter, to be honest, and that's where you can't get it to crackle. Lovely. So what we'll do now is take out the bone from the back. There's two bones to come out here. We've got the blade bone and this backbone here. Lovely. And again, we've got some nice bones here for our stock pot. Put that to one side. There you go, have a feel, make sure there's no bones in there. And then run the knife down the blade bone here, or the shoulder bone. Look at that, lovely. You can see there's a bit of fat in there. That's what you want. You want it with a bit of fat. You don't want it dead lean. Otherwise it's dry. And this is going to cook slowly anyway. We're going to cook this for, I sometimes cook this for 8 to 10 hours on a really low heat, about 130. And then it just falls to pieces. Where you get wonderful pulled pork from, with your apple sauce, coleslaw if you like, that sort of thing, and some baps. And it's absolutely great for a party. If you're having a lot of people around, you can cook this, forget about it, and it's just so easy. There you go. Then we'll whip that back over, and then we'll tie that up. Again, I'm starting with the thickest part of the joint. And just nice and even. Beautiful. And this crackling, yeah, it's just sublime. It's a wonderful thing because you can sort of put this in the oven, go for a long walk, forget about it, and on a low heat, and just come back and it will just literally fall to pieces. A couple of forks and just cut the strings and you've got a wonderful dinner. There we go, there you have it. Free range shoulder of pork, boned and rolled, or neck end of pork as we call it in the trade. So here we go, last but not least, we've got the hand. And I'm going to whip out, this is the sweetbreads you get by the neck. Look at that, it's a lovely delicacy for some people. So we're going to whip this out, keep that to one side. I'm going to take off the knuckle here, run the knife down here, like so. Can you see? There's a little joint in there. Again, we can just sort of crack that on the block, like so, give us a good head start. And go through there, just straight down there like that. Look at that, beautiful. Keep that, wonderful for stock, gelatine. And we'll just score up the hand, like so. Lots of flavour on this. And I'm going to whip the bone out here, straight down there. Look at that, beautiful. Just work round the bone. Can you see how I'm using the knife? Just working it round. There we go, take that bone out, lovely. Make sure there's no other little bone shards left in or anything. Give it a feel. Any nasty bits of, there we go, they will come out. Trim that off, I don't want that in my dinner. Take that out. That comes out. And we can turn that over, turn it into a nice sort of shape, and tie this one up. Again, in the middle piece, where it's thickest. And there's our beautiful hand of pork. This was used quite a lot back in the day as a cheaper cut. In the 60s and 70s, this was very popular. And one round here, a little postman knot. Boned and rolled. Hand of pork. Delicious, look at that. This is what a side of pork gets you when it's completely boned and rolled. The other side obviously is identical. YouTube thinks you're going to like this video next. Tell your friends.